All right, I think we are about ready to begin. I want to say good morning and good afternoon to everyone on the East Coast. A belated Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you so much for everybody who's attending. We have a phenomenal turnout for our first lecture in the 2017 NIMBL Lecture Series, Core Concepts of Upgrading to Solution Manager 7.2. I'm Jay Geisbart, part of the NIMBL marketing team. A little bit about us at NIMBL. We are SAP technologists and SAP ecosystem thought leaders. Our consulting business delivers SAP projects, both technical and functional, while our Denver-based SAP Managed Services supports both Fortune 1000 and Midmarket 24/7 across 20-plus SAP skill sets. While our projects tend to be technical in nature, S4HANA, S4HANA Public Cloud, Solution Manager, UX, we likewise provide deliverable SAP functional, business process, and PMO services. And here's a quick list of the services that we offer. Obviously, today we will be talking about Soulman 7.2, and here are a list of some of the customers that we've worked with and currently work with. Just a couple of housekeeping items. We want to be able to answer as many questions as possible. So if you take a look at the bottom left corner of your screen, the chat box, there'll also be a chat bubble icon there. Feel free to ask any questions along the way, and our speaker, Jeremy, will answer them at the end of the presentation. Also, everybody will receive a fully edited copy of the presentation. So if you miss a part, don't worry about it, because we will be sending you a fully edited copy. So let's get to our speaker today. Our speaker is Jereme Swoboda. Jeremy is an experienced SAP Solution Manager and SAP NetWeaver consultant, focused on proactive technical monitoring and SAP and non-SAP systems. He is author of the SAP Pressbook, Upgrading to SAP Solution Manager 7.2. He is also an Asug University Soulman 7.2 professor and a frequent speaker at SAP Insider Ask the Experts panel across the country. Before we get started, we just want to get a lay of the land. So we're going to start off with a quick poll question, and that's going to be on Solution Manager 7.2. You can feel free to click on there. We are planning an upgrade to Solution Manager 7.2 in 0 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months, or we are not currently planning an upgrade. I'll let people fill it in. Everybody seems to be responding. That's great. A lot of people are in 0 to 3 months, and a good amount are in 6 to 12 months. I'll give people a couple more seconds to reply. All right, looks like we're good there. And following that up with, what is your current S4HANA schedule as they work in tandem? Is that 0 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months, or it is not currently on our schedule? And we'll let everybody fill that out too. All right, we'll give that a couple more seconds. Great, looks like everybody's filled it out. All right, at this point, I'm going to turn it over to our speaker, Jeremy. Jeremy, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Jake, and thank you everyone for joining my presentation today. Today we'll be discussing the core concepts of upgrading to Solution Manager 7.2. First of all, how do you decide on upgrading or implementing a fresh install? Any of the technical requirements your basis team may need to know. Go over some of the impacts to the functionality that is the heart of Solution Manager, as well as some of the key concepts of content activation at the end. So first off, the first question you need to ask yourself when you're thinking about going to Solution Manager 7.2 is, do we need to upgrade, or do we just need to, forget about our old system, trash it, and start with a fresh install? So the primary reasons for upgrading would be if you have Charm or some major functionality within Solution Manager, like Charm, ITSM using their service desk, already configured within Solution Manager. If you have your business processes fully mapped out, you're using BPCA, you're using Scope and Effort Analyzer on a regular basis, and Solution Manager is really a core solution within your landscape, then upgrading is going to be the path you want to take. Also, something many people don't necessarily think of is how many systems do you have connected to Solution Manager? How much work have you put into Solution Manager 7.1 in integrating into your landscape? Even if you're only using early watch reports, root cause analysis, the basic functionality, or if you're using Scope and Effort Analyzer and you've got lots of UPL data, usage and procedure logging data, stored within Solution Manager, that is all very essential and valuable data that is valuable and is worth keeping. So if you've got 30, 40, 50 different systems connected to Solution Manager, you have all this data, going with a fresh install, the speed of a fresh install would not eliminate all of that extra work you're going to have to do for configuring it and connecting it to those systems. So that would also be a good example of upgrading versus a fresh install. It's normally the recommendation we make for most clients, unless you're a small infrastructure with a minimum number of systems. So moving on to reasons for a fresh install, the primary one would be, are you running 7.0? If so, there is no direct upgrade path from 7.0 to 7.2. So to actually go to 7.2, you would have to upgrade to 7.1, and then you could upgrade to 7.2. So there's probably very few circumstances where it's worth that kind of effort and commitment and man hours to get that done. So in that instance, just doing a fresh install would make the most sense. Also, if you have a small landscape, you're only using Maintenance Optimizer, Early Watch Alerts, you're not really using Soulman all that much, then a fresh install would make the most sense. Either way, even with a fresh install, a lot of these concepts we're going over now are important to understand. The changes introduced with 7.2, so you definitely want the information in this, whether you're upgrading or installing a fresh system. So a few of the technical requirements, the major changes you see from a technical side, you are upgrading from NetWeaver 7.02 to 7.4. So that's great, right? We're introducing a lot more stability. The 7.4 is significantly enhanced compared to 7.0. You also are getting CRM. It is not a full upgrade, but it is implementing Enhancement Pack 3. And you can upgrade from any support pack within 7.1. So anywhere you are, they do like you to be, SAP likes to be at a higher support pack if possible, but definitely not required. As far as 7.4, you definitely want to look out for the OS and DB compatibility with NetWeaver 7.4 and the latest kernel. 7.49 was recently released and supported for Soulman 7.2. But, I would recommend at least going with 7.4.5 when you're upgrading, but ensuring that you are compatible. And if your upgrade isn't planned for 6 months down the road, a year, then it would be a good idea to go ahead and patch your OS and your DB now as a small project, getting the system ready, versus trying to pack that all into the full upgrade. So that's definitely a time saver, getting your OS and DB patched right now to support the upgrade. Also, as a requirement for going to NetWeaver 7.4, the dual stack is split. So you first upgrade the system with Software Update Manager, and then you split your dual stack. So now you've got ABAP and Java, completely separate systems. So this is an important stage where you need to decide, do we need to run it on 2 hosts or a single? Do we need a second database, or do we just want to run the Java on a separate schema within the same database? Both fully supported. SAP recommends, just if possible, keeping a single host. It simplifies the upgrade. It simplifies the post-upgrade activities. Overall, it's a better idea. The only reasons I would recommend doing 2 separate hosts would be scaling out for the future. If you've got separate hosts, separate databases, if you plan on activating Charm and Service Desk and technical monitoring, all these different functionalities that take significant resources, then separate databases would allow you to scale out in the future a lot easier than a single host. Also keep in mind, if you do a separate host, you do require to install a web dispatcher for communication between ABAP and Java for all of your diagnostic agents and general communication with the systems from managed systems as well. That is included in infrastructure preparation within Soulman Setup, so it's easily to connect the Web Dispatcher to Solution Manager once you have it installed, but that is a requirement. Also, something to take note of is with the upgrade, it is Charm and ITSM, the CRM functionality requires either Trex or HANA. So if you are not going to migrate to HANA during the upgrade, you will have to install Trex. So plan that for your upgrade, and once you upgrade, then you go on and install Trex. There is a note, if you're currently using Solution Manager 7.1 with Trex, that note there you want to take note of. It does need to be implemented in 7.1 before the upgrade. But once the upgrade is done, there is a guided procedure within Soulman Setup for connecting Trex or HANA to Solution Manager. A new functionality that SAP has introduced with 7.2 is the ability to use HANA. Also, what's nice is they've included the licensing with Solution Manager 7.2. So if you are looking to drop your current database in order to save some money on licensing, then you can, and migrating to HANA is a good idea. Also, if you have HANA planned down the road, or S4 on HANA, and you want to introduce HANA to your basis or your DBA team, then this would be a good gateway to enabling them to get used to HANA, learn it, in a system that is absolutely critical to the business. A couple limitations to take note of. Keep in mind, some of this information is a little bit wrong because SAP is continuously changing this. Originally, all three of these products, if you had them installed, you either had to uninstall them or you couldn't upgrade at all. Well, since then, a few things have changed. So QCA, the Adapter for Quality Center, is now supported for Soulman 7.2. There's some new notes that I wanted to share with everyone. So I'm going to post a few notes here in the chat box that you will want to take note of. This note here is a note talking about QCA and any issues you may run into if you need to reinstall it after upgrading. But if you are using QCA now, you have an option. If you don't want it anymore, you can go ahead and just uninstall it before the upgrade. If you do want to keep it, it is still supported. Now, SPA, the Productivity Pack Adapter, is still is not supported with Solution Manager 7.2. So if you do use it, you're going to want to review this note that I am sharing now. This note here needs to be reviewed, and if you meet the requirements in that note, then you're going to want to go ahead and uninstall it if you don't need it, and then you can upgrade to 7.2. If you cannot uninstall it, then you cannot upgrade to 7.2 at this time. Like I said, this has changed a lot since the release, so there may be changes coming down the road. If you have SAP One Service Tools installed, it is supported now. Once you get into the upgrade phase, you simply have to provide the latest package in the IS Select phase of the upgrade, and you can include that as well. Here's another note concerning the same. That will help you with that as well. I apologize. Here it is. So reviewing that note will help you with OST as well. And then there's also a note directly from SAP that simply talks about the overall upgrade. Checking on this before the upgrade is critical because it includes all of this information. and it includes a lot of the information that we're going over today, but keeping up to date on that because it is, it does change on a regular basis. You'll see that it's actually version 63. So that tells you about how many times it's changed. Moving on, planning your upgrade is, one of the most important parts, including understanding the changes that are introduced with it, especially the fact that Maintenance Optimizer is no longer supported in 7.2. You must use Maintenance Planner. So one of the tasks that should be executed first is, first of all, making sure all of your systems have reported the LMDB recently and it has up-to-date information, executing the verification check on your product system, and then manually uploading it to SAP or waiting for the job that pushes it automatically. But either way, you want the data up to Maintenance Planner, because once you're at 7.2, you can no longer perform those activities. It's simply not possible. So getting all that to the cloud is important before the upgrade. The upgrade process, typically 4 to 5 days of pre-processing and then a downtime of about 8 to 12 hours. So you can upgrade relatively quickly. A few other activities that are important, basic activities for upgrading a system would be verifying SPAO and SPDD has been executed, that you don't have any changes that are halfway through being executed. Making sure you don't have any objects that are inactive in SE80, releasing all of your transports. Another important is updating your SLD and turning on the automatic move functionality. If you reference that note, it gives you all the details on that. Also, another key, which most people sometimes miss, are reviewing first of all, using the latest software update manager for the upgrade, but then reviewing the composite note for it and all of the related notes around it. And believe me, I understand that there's lots of notes to read, but considering the fact that you're going from 7.02 to 7.4, a lot of the things that are compatible with 7.02 are not going to be with 7.4. So it's important to prepare for the upgrade. That way it goes smoothly without any issues. Also, upgrading to Wiley Interscope Enterprise Manager is required if you're running 9.5.6 or lower. So if you're at 9.7, you don't have to upgrade, but I would certainly recommend it. 10.1 has been released, and it is significantly better than the previous releases, in my opinion. The new UI is amazing. It's a lot easier to use, and clearly they've fixed a lot of different bugs and issues with Wiley. Another note: if you're planning your upgrade down the road 6 months to a year, it'd be a good idea to go ahead and update all of your diagnostic agents now across your entire landscape. It is required that your diagnostic agents run on JVM 1.6 or higher, and that it is running on a newer kernel. This requirement comes from upgrading Java to 7.4, and now Java runs on SAP JVM 1.6. So in order for your diagnostic agents to connect properly with Solution Manager, they must be upgraded. Obviously, it's a time-consuming process, so that's why I recommend starting now. It's something that can be done at any time because they're still going to be compatible with your current 7.1. Making sure Soulman setup, your system prep, basic configuration is 100% complete is important. Also, a critical area is updating your CR and CIM content in the SLD within Solution Manager. Those should be at the latest. 2 other steps right before the upgrade are to set your SLD to read only, and then once all of the sync job is finished, you then deactivate the LMDB sync. This is mainly because you don't want any changes being introduced during the upgrade. Moving on to the impact of the Solution Manager upgrade to the core functionalities in Solution Manager. Here I've listed out the functionalities that are impacted to a high degree, to a medium degree, but keep in mind, really everything is impacted at various degrees, but charm, custom code management, business process monitoring, business process management, IT PPM, those are all significantly changed and enhanced. So understand, if you are using any of these functionalities, it's important to understand the changes being introduced, so that when you upgrade, you are prepared, and the use of it will go a lot smoother. It's really fully understanding the changes and doing your research. Really, reviewing the documentation SAP has provided. There's lots of RKT documents out there, lots of presentations. SAP has been speaking about this. I know at the next admin conference there's multiple presentations on it. So really getting up to speed before the upgrade is important. Something I've seen clients do, they will actually copy, if you are using Charm or, Service Desk, and normally a dev system isn't always fully up to speed. It's not just like production, and they really wanted to test it fully before they upgraded production. So they take a copy of production and then upgrade that, then giving their end users, their change managers, everyone access so they can really see the changes and they can be introduced to it before they're thrown in productive use. It's also important to familiarize with the new concepts like that we will be going over here shortly that are a part of the content activation. Because if you do have your business processes, if you do have Charm active, it's important to execute the content activation properly. So understanding those new concepts are important as well, beyond just the functionality of Solution Manager. A few important changes to understand. Something that's great, SMS-wise, has been retired with 7.2. All of that functionality has been moved into the LMDB. Solutions actually have their own UI for creating solutions. And really the overall concept of solutions, logical components, projects, logical component groups, all of that has been completely redesigned. So understanding that is important. One of the big things that SAP has changed is now you only need one solution for your entire environment, for your entire organization. There are very few circumstances where you may want more than one solution. SAP recommends only one. The only reason to have more than one solution would be if you had two separate business processes that were entirely like separate businesses and they had nothing to do with each other. Then you could create another solution and then map out your business processes, and now they're completely segregated from the others. The security authorization concepts have been revamped. There is a new security guide I recommend reviewing, having your security team take a look at. They have provided a new UI that's very nice for adding proper authorizations to users. Guided procedures have updated a little bit. They've added an infrastructure preparation guided procedure within Soulman Setup. So now you have system prep, infrastructure prep, and then basic configuration. A few of the enhancements and changes, I'd like to highlight with Charm and process management. First of all, with process management, that's completely been redesigned. Your business process is entirely new. In reality, it's and significantly better. They provided a new UI. You can see on the right side there, that's actually where you can map out and create your business processes. And then you also have a diagram view you can see here in this screen where you can actually see the business processes mapped out step by step. And they've also integrated it in a variety of ways. So it's been integrated into business process monitoring. The screen on the bottom is actually a demonstration of business process monitoring being active on a business process. You can see your green, yellow, red lights on each business process. So you can set up alerts for each step of a business process directly in your business process UI. So greatly simplifying the activation of business process monitoring. They've also integrated into test management, Charm, a variety of different tools within Solution Manager as well. Business processes are, consumed within a solution. So they've also enabled you the ability to use, go back a little bit. So at the bottom of the screen, you can see the different processes available. So they've created a reusable library of different objects within a business process. So you can create different executables, a development library, a process step library. So they've simplified how you create business processes by creating reusable objects in separate libraries that can be used across different business processes. So that speeds up your ability in the process of creating business processes, because you don't have to create an executable multiple times. You create it once, and now you can use it across all of your business processes. As for Charm, one of the biggest changes I know that end users really love is a new UI for Charm management. They've really simplified Charm management, creating task lists, creating cycles that really, especially for training new people, it's great. It's significantly easier to train people on the new UI as well. Charm is also based on the new concept of branches, which we'll talk about more here shortly, but Charm changes are built into branches as well. There are new change cycles built in with Solution Manager 7.2. You have continual deployment. That's essentially where you can release changes on demand at any point. Phase-driven deployment, so all of your changes are built into phases that are all released at the same time. And then release management, so essentially where you plan out all of your changes, they get put into a schedule and they get released at a certain time based on the entire project. This is a screenshot of the new administration cockpit for Charm. It allows you to create your new task list. It's really the central place for Charm, allowing you to run analyses on transports, central place for scheduling imports as well. So it's really the central place you go. All of the old transactions have been disabled. Definitely a great change for Charm. Domain links are no longer required for CCTS. Uneven landscapes are now supported, so that's a new feature that people were looking for. Another major change is the adding of deleting systems on the fly in a running cycle is supported. So in the past of having to close and reopen projects every time you wanted to add or remove a system from a project is no longer an issue. It can now be done on the fly. So some of the key concepts to understand that are important to content activation. SAP, I'm sure you've all heard it, the single source of truth concept. They've really redesigned everything so it all is underneath a single solution. So if you have multiple solutions now, those will be merged into a single solution. That's something to understand for the content activation for the upgrade. System roles have not really changed. The only change they've made is you can have more custom roles, up to 52. I haven't had a client that needed that many, but there must have been somebody, so it's nice that you can do that. The transaction to do that is MAINT_roles. That allows you to create the additional roles as needed once you're in 7.2. Logical component group. This is another new concept. Essentially, simplifying the need for multiple logical components, especially when you've got Charm in place. Essentially taking multiple logical components assigned to one landscape like ERP and grouping them together into a logical component group. This is another concept that's important to understand because this is what you're mapping out during the content activation in 7.1. Some key concepts, one of the major one is the branch. This is an entirely new concept and one of the more difficult ones to understand. Primarily, from my experience with teaching different people, the difficulty is the fact that branches are used differently based on the functionality of Solution Manager. So for charm, a branch, is going to be used for different changes. But for business processes, it's going to be used in a different way. So really, I'll explain it as best I can, but you will really understand the whole concept once you're using it in 7.2. Really what it allows you to do is group your business processes or your changes in charm based on context. So by default, you have to have a production branch and a maintenance branch. So the production branch represents your current production system in the state it is in now. Your maintenance branch would be used for any changes that are going to go up to production. So your day-to-day changes, implementing notes, a change to a business process, adding a step, whatever it happens to be, it would all be developed in your maintenance branch and then released into your production branch or moved in charm. So if you move something from charm, it would be released into your production branch within Solution Manager. Because your production branch is always locked down and cannot be modified except by making a change in a child branch, which would be maintenance, and release to it. You can also have more branches. So another common branch would be a development branch that will be used for a upcoming project. So if you have, if you're upgrading ECC and you've got all these new changes that are coming down the line, they would all be created, tested, and developed in a development branch, and only when they're ready to go to production would they be released into production. It's important not to think of them as a representation of technical systems. It's a representation of the state of production. So you've got the common ones are production branch, your maintenance branch, your development branch, but then other people use things like an import branch where you would import SAP best practices into that branch, and then you could release them into your development for use in your development of the project, and then therefore being released after that into production. This is a nice graphic of how it would flow. So you would have your production branch representing production. You have maintenance, development, and then import is a child of development. And this can really be mapped out any way you want and whatever meets your needs. The only two requirements are you have a production and a maintenance branch. Another new concept is a site. So essentially a site represents multiple production systems. So if you've got a production system in the United States and one in Europe, and they have separate business processes and you need to move changes to separate sites, all within one logical component group, that's how it's done using a site. And that can also be mapped out in content activation. This is a nice diagram of the big picture, how we've got our logical components separated out and assigned to different branches, and how how changes flow from branches up to production. There is also another branch I didn't mention, is the operations branch. That can be directly modified, but it's really just used for business process monitoring. You develop your business process alerts on the business processes that are active in production, but it's separate in this operational branch, as you can see there. For the content activation, there is a wiki that SAP has out there. You definitely want to save that for future use. That has lots of resources for supporting if you have any issues. The content activation can be tricky to activate within 7.1. Currently, they've continually updated the guide that you'll find in that content activation wiki. The guide walks you through everything. A lot of the things I just discussed goes through your different, all the different new concepts, your branches, your logical component groups. It gives you all the notes that need to be implemented, the order they need to be implemented in, and really walks you through the entire content activation process. So utilizing that content activation guide is critical to your success. There are also lots of notes. This number, they actually just released a new content activation guide on the 24th. It's actually up to a total of 100 notes. But I have been in contact with SAP, and they are releasing a composite note that will simplify this. So I believe it's supposed to be released tomorrow, but definitely soon. So look out for that composite note. I'm sure they'll update the guide that will simplify implementing all of these notes in 7.1. But definitely following the guide and the order that you execute it in is very important. Also, make sure you update STPI and STAPI in Solution Manager 7.1 before you implement any of these notes. Otherwise, you will have issues. So really taking your time for executing the content activation is very important, working hand in hand with your functional teams, ensuring that you activate all of the content they need, but nothing that they don't need. When you implement those content activation notes, you do get a report called Our Solar Project Soul Overview. Essentially lists out all of your solutions and projects and shows you what kind of documents exist in each one. You can go through this with your functional team, whoever manages business processes, whoever manages Charm, whoever's been included in creating projects and documents in those projects need to be included in the discussion. So using that new report is definitely very helpful. A couple other guidelines that I've used, obviously don't create more than one solution unless you have to, which is very rare. Do not create a logical group for each of your logical components currently, because that would be completely backwards and opposite of how a logical component group is designed. So don't try to go beyond SAP's design. I've seen one or two people try to do that and it just doesn't work out. Create one logical component group for an entire landscape, so one for ECC, one for BW, one for CRM, so on. Also keep in mind that your projects, when activated, are assigned to branches. So when you are creating your branches in the content activation guided procedure, keep in mind at the end you assign your projects to those branches. So if you have multiple projects that you're not sure what kind of branch they would go into, what we've done for clients is create multiple branches, one for each project or sets of projects that are similar, and move them. That way, now these changes are separated into different branches, and you can selectively release business processes, documents from that branch into a development branch or into a maintenance branch. That way you can piecemeal, and you can separate out what you want out of those projects that you're unsure of. The other solution would be to spend the time going through your projects now and removing documentation, removing anything that you don't need out of a project, or just don't activate that project at all if you don't need it, because you don't want to clutter up Soulman 7.2 if you don't have to. The other note, if you do have multiple languages within your objects, you do need to use one single master language. There's some, with the notes I referenced, there's more information about that, and it's also in that content activation guide. So if you're using multiple languages in Solution Manager, definitely research that and look into that information. The notes also provide additional reports that allow you to do a few different things. So the first one, allowing you to search for knowledge warehouse documentation that are not used. So, if your functional team isn't sure of what to do, then you can use that report to find out what isn't being used, what isn't assigned to a project. Then there's two others, one that allows you to archive outdated knowledge warehouse documentation, and then another one that allows you to delete it. And again, you must implement the notes that create those reports for you. Oh. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Jeremy. I know you covered a lot of information, and there's obviously more information. We'll get to it during the Q&A. If you'd like more information on 7.2, that includes our quarterly newsletter that we send out and all the updates that we receive and pass out to all the SAP community. Just type yes into the chat box. I'll give people a little bit more time for that one. I think a lot of people are looking for some more information. A lot of people have asked me, are we going to be sharing the presentation? Yes, we will be sharing it. Everybody will get a fully edited copy of the presentation. And then for a more intimate experience with 7.2, if you're interested in setting up a demo on 7.2, we can be able to coordinate that as well. So go ahead and type yes or no into the chat box. I think a lot of people are looking for that as well. That's great. In addition, if you hadn't noticed in the chat box, next month we will be focusing on the new S/4HANA Cloud. That will be the subject of our HANA Cloud quarterly newsletter, as well as an upcoming webinar on business transformation and whether or not the S/4HANA Cloud is right for your business. If you'd like an invite to that, just type S4 into the chat box, and we'll make sure that you receive the invitation to the next webinar, as well as the info letters that we send out on S4. All right, at that point, I'm going to hand it back over to Jereme.
As Jake mentioned earlier, I did write an SAP Press e-bite on upgrading to 7.2. It was based on SP3, so a few things have changed, but overall, the entire book is still very valuable as far as the entire process. All the different, really what I wrote it for was to help centralize all of this information, because I know it's a lot. And in my process of learning it, there's all these different sources of information, and what I try to do is consolidate into one. So that's what I hope it can do for you if you are interested in it. And there's a link there if you are interested in picking up a copy of it. Also, something to note, Steve Christian, a colleague of mine, and me, we've both done now 3 different sessions for Asug University, basically a 2-day session of both lecture and hands-on. We essentially have 18 separate solution manager systems that allow each person to log in and get real hands-on experience with Soulman 7.2, including charm, business processes, technical monitoring. Essentially, a 2-day session on both basis and functional. We go over, a lot of these different concepts I talked about today for the upgrade, but then also the changes introduced. Currently, we don't have a session out there. If you are interested in it, we definitely
you can go ahead. Yeah, you can just go ahead and type, if you're interested in getting more information when we do relaunch Asug U for 2017, just type the letter U into the chat box, and we'll get you information on the 2-day session. Again, as Jereme mentioned, we go to a lot of different cities, and the Soulman 7.2 was one of the most popular ones that we have. But yeah, if we're coming to your city and you want information about it, just type U in there, and when we relaunch, we'll reach out. All right, I believe we are at the question and answer. We have a lot of questions asked, so just to let you know, we give ourselves a little bit of extra time for the questions. If we don't get to your question, Jereme will be sure to answer that question after, and we might hang around a little bit past 12 just to get to all of them. So the first question is from Naveen. Even after an upgrade, is it recommended to rerun the managed system configuration?
Yes, it is recommended to re-execute it, but in reality, there won't be too many things that need to be executed again. You want to recreate extractors. And one of the primary things I recommend is there's a couple notes out there that list out all of the new roles that are required for the RFC users and the SM admin, SID Soulman user that are all required for collecting data. So updating those roles are important to do in the managed systems. But it shouldn't be a considerable amount of work.
All right, next one's from Daniel. Is Trex a different set of SAP systems or just another application in Soulman?
Trex is another small application in Soulman. If you have another Trex in your landscape, you can connect Soulman to that. So you don't necessarily have to install another one if you currently have one out there in your infrastructure.
All right. And if customers want to migrate from TAO to CBTA, they have to start from scratch. All the scripts that they developed using SAP TAO cannot be migrated into CBTA. So there's a number of questions here. Is there an easy way to migrate our SAP TAO components to CBTA?
Unfortunately, I do not have a good answer for that. Steve Christian, he is our functional expert. He would be a great person. So I don't know if you want to get us that question, or
I'll forward that question on to Steve, and he'll respond to Steve. So I guess the next question is, all right, so we're going to skip to Jan. Is Trex required if we don't use some of those add-on modules?
Trex is required for the CRM portion, so Service Desk, ITSM. If you're not using those two, then I'm not aware that I can't say guaranteed, but I have not seen a requirement to use for Trex if you don't use those. It's used for when you're searching for a Charm document within Charm, or in Service Desk a ticket. That's when Trex is used for searching.
And Michael wanted to know, are there any updates on Software AG's ARIS support with Soulman 7.2?
I have not seen anything on ARIS support.
Okay.
It's definitely another good question for Steve, though.
All right, so I'll make sure that Michael's question goes to Steve as well as Stevens. All right. Rick asked if you could go back over the 7.2 support for the ST QCA.
So QCA is now supported with 7.2. I believe as of SP4, they released the new version. So you don't have to worry about it. I would review the note I gave you. If you do have any issues, that note mentions reinstalling it once you get to 7.2, but it is supported now.
Okay. We have a different Rick with a different question, which I'm sure a lot of people are interested in. Is there much impact to retrofit?
No, I mean, retrofit's still supported. You'll still have your retrofit landscape within the same logical component group, and that's kind of what you saw in that diagram that I showed you, where you've got your second landscape assigned to that same logical component. It's still just as supported.
All right. And VJ asks, for monitoring third-party systems for PI interface, does Solution Manager need third-party systems definition in SLD to monitor the interface?
For monitoring anything related with PI, you need that PI business data within the SLD. The requirements are the same from 7.1 to 7.2. On average, technical monitoring is probably the least impacted functionality within Solution Manager. The biggest thing is the UI that's been, Fiori and HTML5 being introduced. So to answer your question, you do need all of that synced to your SLD. What's nice with 7.4, you can now do a full sync between your SLD and your PI SLD. You don't have to rely on moving things on the OS level now that we're at 7.4.
All right. Josh asks, if you have a third-party application, how hard is it to incorporate it into business process monitoring, assuming that native Soulman monitoring won't apply, but you can still create placeholder objects so that the process is accurate? Did you understand the question?
That's kind of. I think that'd be a good discussion, I think, outside of that, because I have some questions, and I think Steve, it'd be good to include Steve in on that one as well.
All right. So, Josh, if you'd like, we can set up a call with you to go over that. Rakesh has another question. How are processes validated continuously based on real usage?
Unfortunately, it's another good one for Steve. He's our business process expert. I apologize.
All right. Sue asks, our solution documentation is highly customized. Is there any support to convert a customized solution to the new capability in 7.2? Or will it be a redo?
I guess I don't understand how customized it is. Any of that documentation built into Solution Manager can be upgraded to the new business process tool. If you execute content activation and select all of those documents, they will be upgraded to 7.2, and there shouldn't be any redo.
Good. Rick asks, so with all the preparation required, what would be a reasonable time, full-time employee days for preparation?
Unfortunately, it depends on the size of your landscape, right? If you've got lots of diagnostic agents, lots of systems out there to update. But as far as updating a diagnostic agent, you're talking 30 minutes at the most. 10 minutes to uninstall, 15, 20 to reinstall again to update that. I usually about 80 hours is what I usually propose for a single Solution Manager upgrade. So if you got two systems, 160.
Cool. VJ asks, can we first create production branch and then copy the production branch to the maintenance branch?
No, you can't. Everything flows from your maintenance to your production. So what you would want to do is have everything go into your maintenance, and then you can release it to production once you're in 7.2. So if there's anything, and during the content activation, if there's anything you're not sure that should be in production or not, put it in maintenance or some other custom branch and release it as needed later.
Okay, I don't know if I'm understanding this question. Surinder asks, for a fresh install, is this the best practice? Keep both ABAP and Java instances on one app host and keep both ABAP and Java databases on the same database host.
So yeah, SAP recommends keeping the entire ABAP, Java, and database. You can keep all on the same host. So it's recommended by SAP to keep it as one, primarily for those communication issues after the upgrade. But either way is fully supported.
All right. So there's some other questions. Sunil asks, currently we are utilizing the 001 and production client. What is your recommendation merging the 001 and production client?
So they're using 001 as production?
Yeah, currently we are utilizing the 001 and production client. What is your recommendation merging?
Oh, and production client. Well, really, Solution Manager is not designed for multiple clients. SAP recommends, it's in the master guide, to use 001 as your productive client. But once you move to a separate client, there's no going back and forth between clients. Really, everything within Solution Manager is cross-client and really meant to run in a single client, especially with the content activation. You don't want to try to run content activation in multiple clients. If you do that, I've actually read specific messages from SAP. If you try to do that, you're going to have to come to us to help fix it because it's going to make a big mess. So I recommend staying in the single 100 client you're in, or if it is 100, whatever that productive client is that you created. The key is when you create that separate client from 001 is that you use the SAP All client copy option. So you get everything from 001 into the new client. It needs to be a copy of 001 entirely. Because, like I said, SAP recommends using 001 and not going to a separate client.
All right. Satish asks, do we have to rerun technical monitoring after the upgrade?
I mean, you're going to want to verify functionality. Like I said, it's impacted probably the least. Everything will still be there. So, you may have to, recreate some extractors if some things have changed. Definitely with Soulman, you're going to have to re-execute, right? Because you're going to have new extractors because now you're on 7.4. You're going to have to go through managed system again for Soulman. But all the other managed systems, they didn't change. only Solution Manager did. So, the monitoring should still be up and running.
Okay. Ray asks, charm functionality in 7.2 gives us, does charm functionality in 7.2 give better functionality than RevTrack?
I am not familiar with RevTrack. Unfortunately, I can't answer that.
Okay. Alex asks, what reporting functionality is available in SoulMan? Is it integrated with BW?
With Solution Manager 7.2, there are new dashboards, custom dashboards you can create utilizing the data within Solution Manager. As far as reporting, you can generate those separate dashboards. It's really just the UIs built into Solution Manager. The answer is kind of too long. There's lots of different reporting and different functionality, but there is reporting available.
Okay. Zhao asks, is single-step upgrade and HANA database migration available now in the SUM SUM tool?
Not that I'm aware of. Well, we will use SUM to upgrade, but then you split the stacks and then you migrate to HANA. So it's not a single step.
Okay. And Don asks, is there a big advantage of running 7.2 on HANA versus any database? That's a great question.
There is an advantage. The big one is that search functionality when you're using Charm and Service Desk. If you've got large amounts of change documents, lots of users, you're going to see a significant performance with HANA when you're utilizing Charm. As far as the other functionality, the HANA speed isn't necessarily fully used. It's mainly going to impact Charm and Service Desk.
All right. Martin asks, does SoulMan 7.2 support 7.5 NW and HANA, or NetWeaver, 7.5 NetWeaver and HANA 2.0?
Yeah, you can monitor 7.5, and you can connect Solution Manager 7.5.
Kate asks, is support really going to end on December 31st, 2017 for SoulMan 7.1?
As far as I know. That's stuff up to SAP, but yeah, from what I've seen.
There you go. All right. Tobias asks, with 7.2, are there any significant technical monitoring improvements?
The big things with technical monitoring are the UI. So everything is based on HTML5. So the UIs are now seamless and very similar across the board between end-user experience monitoring, job monitoring, system monitoring. All of them look very similar and a lot easier to use. They have new graphical options built into them. With the introduction of Fiori, the fact that Fiori apps can run on any device, that if you do want mobile apps with system monitoring and end-user experience monitoring, they have a Fiori mobile app for that. So you can navigate to your Fiori dashboard on any device. It's actually something I demoed during the Asug University. So that's, I think, an improvement because the old apps for system monitoring and all of those were kind of jankety, from my opinion. So the fact that it's built on Fiori streamlines that and a lot easier for anyone to utilize. Beyond that, the monitoring capabilities themselves have not changed extensively.
All right. I think this is a post-upgrade support package question. Can we stay on STOST 100, SPS 03 after the upgrade?
Where is that question? I need to see it. Can you repeat that?
STOST 100. With SPS 03 after the upgrade.
Will you send that to me? I need to see it.
All right, so we'll follow up on that.
Yeah, we can follow up.
All right, Brahma asks, how does the HANA license work with 7.2?
How does HANA? It's included in your licensing, so it's not free, but it's not additional either. It's included in the licensing. They didn't increase your licensing cost to be able to use it. You just need the main thing is you have to get the hardware. So if you already have HANA in your landscape, that's probably easy for you to do. If not, then you need to get the hardware or have it hosted by someone. Or you can go to the cloud as well.
All right, we're running past time. We'll go with a couple more questions. And again, as I mentioned, everybody who hasn't been answered, we'll be sure to follow up shortly with an email. The last thing I want to say before we get to the last couple questions is, as you leave, we would love it if you filled out the comment box, what you liked about it, what you would have seen added, any comments you have at all as we build or continue to go forward in the NIMBL lecture series. Also, any topics that you would like us to explore particularly, we'll do that. And overall, what you thought of the presentation. All right.
Real quick, back to the STOST. I see it now. So yes, you are still on STOST 100 after the upgrade. All right.
So Kate had a follow-up to, is the support really going to end in December 31st? And she mentioned that they're planning an upgrade to HANA by August. But then we need to upgrade to 7.2 once the dust settles. I don't know if that's the question. Let's see. Yeah, I guess you just answered the question. Yeah, so as far as you know, December 31st, 2017. Okay. Robert asks, has the dashboarding capabilities in 7.2 improved? The previous dashboards were quite limited.
Yes, significantly, because now all the dashboards are built on HTML5, so they're definitely enhanced. I mean, it depends on which dashboards you're talking to. Some changed more than others.
Okay. All right. Kate asks, with the re-release functionality, is it possible to remove projects that are included in that release that will not make it go live? Oh, that will not make it for the go live, I'm sorry. So with the release functionality, is it possible to remove projects that are included in that release that will not make it for go live?
So the activation is based on projects, not the release. So as long as the project is there and ready to be activated, then it can be activated.
Okay. I think you answered this question already in another question, but has the end user experience monitoring changed in 7.2?
Just the UI.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right, let's do one more. Jaya asks, are there any specific licensing issues to use the 7.2 and its full capabilities? And that's the question. There are no licensing issues, right? It's already with. Are there any specific licensing issues to use the 7.2 and its full capabilities?
No. I mean, you just have to be on enterprise licensing to be able to have Solution Manager in general. That's the only licensing that I've been privy to. I don't normally deal with the licensing.
All right, we're going to end on this one. Dana asks, today we have multiple companies in our Soulman system. Each company is assigned their own solution. Security data segregation is driven by solution project. Given that the recommendation is a single solution for 7.2, how do we handle a multi-company structure?
Multiple solutions. If you've got multiple companies that are completely separated from each other, then that would be a situation where more than one solution could work.
Okay. All right, we have reached a little bit past our deadline. I want to thank everybody for hanging around. Definitely, Jeremy, thank you so much for the presentation. It was great. We'll follow up on all the emails and get everybody who wanted the S4 information out to them, as well as the Asug University. Please definitely look forward to our next webinar on S4 HANA Cloud. And again, please fill out the, if you can, the comment cards on the way out. Thank you so much, everybody. Again, thank you, Jereme, and have a great weekend.